Florida Maquis. Over the last few months, you have been encouraging your audience to go over to the Florida Maquis Patreon channel and get signed up for the psychological operations training videos. Why have you been doing that? Clearly, it's far more important to read our Bibles, get trained with ballistic weapons, and stockpile as many beans, bullets, and band-aids as we possibly can. Clearly, psychological operations should be way down the list of things we're concerned about. Why are you doing that? Well, in a word, you're wrong. And here is your icy, frosty, cold glass of shut the fuck up. You're wrong. In today's video, I'm going to use the Bible to prove how wrong you actually are. But Florida Maquis, sometimes you read the Bible, but then other times you show pictures of girls in bikini, and that's clearly against what the Bible says you're supposed to do. How can you justify those two things? Well, once again, you're wrong. And here's the proof. First of all, the Song of Solomon, by modern definition, translated properly, is quite pornographic. Now here, in this particular phrase, they have used more G-rated vocabulary. But here's the reality of it. Song of Solomon, chapter 7, verses 1 through 5. There's a word in here that everybody misses. And when you realize what the word is, your jaw is going to hit the floor. How graceful are your feet in sandals, O queenly maiden. Your rounded thighs are like jewels, the work of a master's hand. Your navel, in this particular context, they're not talking about a navel. They're referring to something a little bit farther south on the female anatomy, but we're going to just leave that there for a minute, is a rounded bowl that never lacks mixed wine. Your belly is a heap of wheat, encircled with lilies. Your two breasts are like two fawns, twins of a gazelle. Your neck is like an ivory tower. Your eyes are pools in Heshbon by the gate of Bath-rabbim. Your nose is like a tower of Lebanon, overlooking Damascus. Your head crowns you like Carmel, and your flowing locks are like purple. A king is held captive in the tresses. Now, what's the word? Maiden. O queenly maiden. Now, think of all of the descriptive language here. Maiden. In that time, a maiden. A girl or young woman, especially an unmarried one. An unmarried one. Sometimes referring to an older, perhaps middle-aged woman. Unmarried. Unmarried. So answer me this. How would Solomon have known all of the details of the female anatomy of an unmarried woman? Oops. Yeah, you see, that's a problem. See, I'm guessing more than likely this particular maiden was wearing somewhat less than a bikini when Solomon decided to write this scripture about her. Later on in the Song of Solomon, it said, I am my beloved's, and his desire is toward me, this unmarried maiden. Explain that one. And for those of you who think that you can't walk down a beach, by the way, and do anything other than lust, that's just a sign of how weak-minded you are and how in need you are of psychological operations training and why you should already be signed up. Now, I put together this image to show you the 5 places you can go in your mind to keep you from experiencing lust if you walk down a beach and you happen to see a girl laying there in a bikini. It's real simple. Number 1, you can go into what they call health mode in your mind. And when you see the girl they're getting a tan, you can think, wow, clearly she is bolstering her immune system. We have a really good reason these days to bolster our immune systems, don't we? It's simply an act of self-care and health. And on that same note, you can go into biology mode. Here's a woman literally removing a man's heart with her bare hands. You see, beyond all of the external, inside, we all have a heart, we all have lungs, we all have intestines. Who remembers biology class? When they taught us about all of the parts, there's basically two versions of the human being. One has indoor plumbing, one has outdoor plumbing. That's it. Biology mode, health mode. There's also military mode. You see, perhaps it was my own experience, but there are a lot of very, very, very good-looking women in the military. And some of them outrank you. And heaven help, your eyes go someplace that they shouldn't. You see, you learn how to maintain your countenance. You learn how to maintain your military bearing, regardless of any external stimuli. Period. And I know I have a lot of guys in my audience from the military who understand this completely. So we've shown 3 places you can go already. Health mode, biology mode, military mode. For those of you who are older, you can go into dad mode. Dad mode. See this? And you're like, oh, boy, I sure hope they brought some sunscreen. They're going to get burned if they're not careful. I hope they, have taken precautions. So there's 4. And then, of course, the one we just discussed, Bible mode. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. Proverbs 31:12. If you can't do this, you're weak-minded. If you can't do this, you're weak-minded, and you need the training over at Patreon. $1 per month. I guarantee men, the women in your life will appreciate it. Women, we got something coming for you in the second half of this video that's going to show how much you need this training. It's even less than $1 if you sign up for a year. And, once again, fully refundable. Down in the comments, you will see people, many of them, who will attest to what I've said. 24 logical fallacies, 24 cognitive biases. You get a hold of your mind, and everything changes. Now, here on YouTube and many other places, there are all sorts of videos talking about advice on how to build a prepper group and what you should do to prep and how you should get ready for shit hits the fan, into the world as we know it, without rule of law, whatever you want to call it. Well, in today's video here, we're going to show you the top 3 threats. The real threats that are going to destroy your prepper groups, your survival groups, and you're never going to see them coming. Threat number 1. We've talked about this before. In a true grid down, shit it's the fan situation, the authorities are going to start to release prisoners, ex-cons, thugs. And they're not going to put out large press releases about it. They're just going to do it quietly because it's too expensive to keep them housed. This particular individual is a man named Jeremy Meeks. He was one of the Crips. And you think, well, I would see that coming a mile away. Really? Really, ladies, would you? See, he's in a relationship now with a billionaire's daughter. You see, they have nothing to do on the inside but study up on how to manipulate people and how to screw with people. You see, because society has tossed them aside. They're not going to be able to go get a real job with their record. So they've got to find out ways of improvising, adapting, and overcoming. We've talked about this. Many of you remember the video that I did, the series of videos actually, talking about how this threat is going to appear, and they're going to know exactly what right-wing talking points to spit out to you to get you to embrace them. And they're not only going to know what to say and how to say it, but who to say it to. And it's going to be your daughters and your sisters and your aunts and your wives. Because it's not hard to lose weight and get ripped and be all super attractive in prison. Look up Jeremy Meeks, former member of the Crips, charged with robbery, corporal injury to a child, weapons charges, and look at the life he's made for himself. Modeling career, acting career, worth a ton of money. You don't think it can happen to you? If you don't know how to identify guys like this, if you don't know how to ask the right questions, if you don't know how to ask the right questions of the women in your group that they're manipulating, you're screwed. And you're going to have a thug right in your midst, and you're going to think, oh, well, he smokes weed and my buddy smokes weed, so, they must, all people who smoke weed, they're all good people. Oh, and he's definitely anti-government and pro-Second Amendment, so all those things, he's got to be a good guy. Yeah. Here's the second biggest threat to your survival group. Hyper-capitalists. You see, there are going to be people who want to get in your group, and they're going to sing the praises of capitalism. And you're thinking, wow, we got a good one. They're definitely not a leftist. You see, until the moment they're asked to do something that benefits the group that may harm them a little, where they might even have the slightest short end of the stick, they're going to jet. And they're going to take advantage of you. Largely drug addicts, largely crypto scammers. One day you're going to wake up, half your stash is going to be gone, and they're going to have jetted down the road. Because they're capitalists. Everything they do is about self-advancement. It's all about them. It's never about the group. It's all about them. It's never about the group. And you'll never see them coming because you know why? Because the vast majority of preppers are right-wing and they think capitalism saves the day every time. It doesn't. And here's the third threat, and this will be the biggest one. The socio-sexual dynamics of a co-ed survival group. If you have people in your group that are weak-minded and don't understand the concepts of grace and mercy and forgiveness, you're going to have all sorts of shit-eating contests. Now, this is, of course, from the series Walking Dead, but it illustrates the point. You had this character, and she was sucking face with this guy right up to the point that this guy shows up, and then she starts sucking face with him. This girl, she had a moment with this guy, who also was kissing this girl, and then she had a moment with this guy, and when you start to mix in the idea of everyone being under stress, everyone having the fear of what's coming tomorrow, or the day after, and them needing a release, it's going to cause drama. It's going to cause drama, and then when you start mixing in ballistic weapons and egos, you're going to have a recipe for disaster amongst the weak-minded. This is the reality. Now, on another note, here at the end, some people said, Florida Maki, you talk about Patreoners. You clearly must lust after this woman. No. Absolutely not. She is beautiful, intelligent, well-read, and she has survived on YouTube for a long time. I have an incredible amount of respect for this woman. She lives 1,000 miles away. She lives 1,000 miles away. She's got her life. I got mine. I can appreciate what this woman has to offer without having 1 ounce of lust in my heart. She's a beautiful woman. Absolutely a beautiful woman. But I'm in control of my mind. And once you're in control of your mind, you can control your heart. And honestly, if you haven't signed up for her Foundations of Medical Prep course, either in person or online, she's going to be here in Florida in a couple of months. I will likely not be there, just to not make a distraction for that very reason, because of the weak-minded. Jennifer, Veterans for Truth. Same thing. She's 1,000 miles in the other direction. And married with 3 kids. She barely has time to make videos. Incredibly intelligent woman, trained, former Navy. Helped me out a ton with the investigation into the Fitzgerald. Incredible amount of respect for this woman. But not an ounce of lust. Not 1 ounce. Kim Iverson, same thing. One of the most intelligent women on the planet. She used to be a model. Great friend. She's 2,000 miles away plus. She's way out in LA. And I do believe in a relationship, married, something along that line. I would encourage you to listen to all of them. They all have different perspectives, every single one of them. And you can learn something. But if you have control of your mind, you can really be blessed. If you don't, you're going to look right through everything and miss it all. Miss the best parts. So, that having been out of the way, once again, here is your giant frosty cold glass of shut the fuck up, you are wrong. For those of you who have realized how weak your minds are, and you're ready to fix that, join us over at Patreon. It is the best $1 per month you will ever spend in your life. The training I got from the military was the greatest blessing in my life. Believe me, it's not easy training. Some of it is very difficult to hear. When I was trained in this, I was a young man. And it was humbling. It was very, very humbling. But it was the best thing for me. And I've taken the lessons with me through the rest of my life. If you want to make your prepper group stronger and more able to deal with guys like this and situations like that, take the training. You won't regret it. And I'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.